Historical accuracy. That's something that I personally, as a former Kenjutsu instructor, really appreciate. And it's also something that Fauna is doing pretty well, for the most part, okay? We can talk about the lack of armor for the Vikings, or the whole wooden armor disaster for the samurai, but that's not as bad as what I am talking about, in my opinion at least. What I dislike far more than just ignoring history is actually doing research, doing pretty good, and then dropping the ball halfway. And that's what they did with Orochi's sword. Now when we look at it, you might say, well, it's just a katana, it looks like a katana, it is a katana. Where's the problem? Now to define the problem, we have to exactly define the sword, right? There are many swords that we just call katana nowadays, right? We have the tanto, the dagger, we have the wakizashi, the more modern short sword, we have the kodachi, which is the predecessor of the wakizashi, we have the tachi, we have the uchigatana, which is the main thing we usually call katana today. We have the odachi, the nodachi, we have the nagamaki, we have even the naginata. But with all that, what is he using? Now, if we look at how the fittings are designed, as well as the fact that the handle is quite curved and the length of the blade, I would call it a tachi. But that's where the problem starts. A tachi is worn blade down, but Orochi is holding it blade up. Of course, you could say it's not a tachi, it's a long uchigatana or an o-katana. Because if you don't know, you can put a katana blade or uchigatana blade into tachi fittings and it's suddenly a tachi, and vice versa. So they are absolutely interchangeable. The big difference is with the fittings of the katana, it is inserted into the belt and worn there. For the tachi that was also used on horseback, it's suspended at the hips. I hope you had fun looking at me there, because this is the last time you're gonna see me in this video. Anyways, so where's the problem? It's just a long uchigatana. Well, that can't be because of this chest piece that is clearly showing kodachi, the short sword of the tachi, facing downwards, so blade down. And this is where my confusion starts, because like I said, design-wise, they have designed a tachi, and they even designed the kodachi, which just means small tachi. They even designed the kodachi correctly, blade down. But then they are holding the tachi blade up. It seems to me that either they had it blade down originally, but some keyboard warrior told them that it was wrong and that katana are always worn blade up, so they changed it, which I think I remember a screenshot, a really early screenshot of Orochi having the blade down, but I couldn't find it, therefore maybe it doesn't even exist, maybe it's just my memory being faulty. Or the second option, they were designing everything, they found the tachi, they were like, okay, we're gonna use that sword. They found the kodachi because, you know, they are supposed to be together. And then when they looked up the mountings, you know, they just found the kodachi mounting, but then instead of the tachi mounting, they found how to wear the uchigatana instead. And they couldn't tell because they looked the same, except of course the fittings and the mounting, which we cannot see because it doesn't have a sheath in-game. Now you could say that it wasn't intentional with the kodachi facing downwards, but then again, for the Aramusha that is actually using the uchigatana, they have the blade up. Kensei actually can have it both ways, but for him, he doesn't have a sword that contradicts one of the two, so it's actually okay that he has both. Just Orochi is the odd one out, and frankly, I don't have ever seen anybody talk about it, which is why I wanted to do it. And that brings me to my question: have you ever seen something, right? A small, minute detail that nobody else has ever found or talked about. Tell me about it, because I'm sure there are more of those cases. I cannot imagine that Orochi is the only one. And honestly, Orochi bothers me more than he should with that. Because, you know, when it comes to gameplay, I can understand historic inaccuracies there, right? Gameplay comes before historic accuracy. But when it comes to the presentation, right? When they actually do the research, they cannot drop the ball halfway like that. Like, either you're gonna do it or you don't. You can't go halfway, but then be like, yeah, but in the anime, they always have it played up. You know, it does not compute. Having both on one character, right? Blades facing down, blades facing up. At the same time, kind of just looks goofy. Like, you know that something is off. But I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that is disturbed by this kind of stuff. I don't know. Anyways, I would still appreciate a like as well as if you would subscribe, and I see you next time.
I love this guy. This Kuro.
Yeah, Kuro's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Kuro, no one appreciates you.